My husband and I both came down with the flu, afraid of infecting our son. So we had no choice but to send him to my mother's house for a few days. A week later, I brought a bag of supplements worth nearly 30,000 yuan with me. When I arrived to pick my son up, I was startled to hear her say, "The babysitting fee for 7 days, based on the standard rate, is 2.100 yuan. His food cost about 900. That's 3.000 total. Just transfer it to me." Before I could even react, she continued in a light, casual voice. "Even if you're my daughter, you're married now, you're practically an outsider. Who's ever heard of someone asking their parents to watch their kid without paying? And don't compare yourself to your younger brother. A grandson is a grandson, a daughter's child is different. Honestly, I can't believe I have to spell this out for you. Don't you understand basic manners?" I gave a faint smile and immediately transferred the 3 yuan. If she saw me as an outsider, then from now on I wouldn't trouble myself over anything for her either. Everything, including money, would be clearly divided. My mother, Hoang Tai Lin, beamed the moment she received it. Before she even counted, she shoved the whole bundle of cash into my sister-in-law's hands. I was already used to scenes like this. My husband and I both had stable jobs and decent incomes. In contrast, my younger brother and his wife drifted from one unstable job to another. Out of family affection, I sent my mother 3 yuan every month for living expenses so she could live more comfortably. But most of it ended up covering my brother and his wife's needs. I'd always turned a blind eye, thinking family should help each other. I never imagined I was the only one helping. While every time they helped me, they calculated every cent. I took my son's hand and prepared to leave, my heart cold as ice. Hoang Tai Lin called after me. "Tiu An, you're leaving already?" I stopped and turned back, my voice icy. "Why would I stay?" She still smiled, pushing my nephew toward me. "The seasons are changing. As his aunt, you should buy him a few new outfits." She said it as if it were the most natural thing in the world. In the past, every season I'd bought my nephew new clothes, from undershirts to coats. From shoes to hats, all brand name. This time was the same. I'd already ordered everything from official stores. It just hadn't arrived yet, so I hadn't mentioned it. I took out my phone, opened the order, and pressed refund. My sister-in-law, Shu, saw me tapping on my phone and immediately chimed in with a grin. Then, you should learn from your aunt later. Okay? Study hard, get into a good university, land a great job. Your aunt's monthly salary is higher than your parents' yearly income combined. You're practically her own child anyway. When you grow up, you have to treat her well. Then Chu ran inside to grab her bag, not forgetting to call back. "Sis, wait for me a sec. I'll get my stuff and come shopping with you." She was used to letting me pay every time I took my mother shopping. She dragged Chu along. The two of them would pick whatever they liked and then push the bill toward me. Before, I never minded, as long as they were happy. That was enough. But from the moment they called me an outsider, I wouldn't be their wallet or puppet anymore. My mother kept smiling. "Wait for me to change clothes. I heard a new gold shop opened nearby. Take me to have a look." Whenever she said, "have a look," it always ended in a purchase. Just then, Tham Veen suddenly sneezed. Mucus ran down over his lips, his whole body shivering from the cold. I looked at him in his thin clothes, my heart tightening. I quickly took off my coat and wrapped it around him. When my hand touched his forehead, it was burning like fire. Why was his fever so high? When did it start? I could barely breathe. He burrowed into my arms, his voice weak. "Yesterday, Mom, it was cold, and I didn't have a thick jacket. Then wouldn't lend me his. Grandma said if I stayed under the blanket I wouldn't be cold." My nose stung. If it were only favoritism, I could endure it, but my son had been left freezing without even a warm coat. I fought back tears and asked, "Did Grandma give you fever medicine?" He shook his head. "No, she said just cover up. Sweat it out, and it'll go away. She said you were the same when you were little. But I feel awful, like I'm burning." I couldn't hesitate another second. I picked him up and rushed straight to the hospital. By the time we arrived, he'd fainted in my arms from the high fever. Luckily he was treated in time. I sat beside the hospital bed holding him, trembling with fear. Old memories flooded back, when I was little and got sick with a fever. My mother never bought medicine, only blankets, and the familiar words, cover up and sweat it out. But just last month, when my brother Jiang Kwang had a slight fever of 37.1 degrees Celsius, she hurried out to buy medicine immediately. I'd once found it strange and asked, and Jiang Kwang snapped, since I was a kid, if I had a fever I had to take medicine right away. Otherwise it's unbearable. That was when I realized the sweat it out method was only for me. Back then I could comfort myself that it was in the past. But today the one neglected wasn't me, it was my son. I couldn't forgive it. My phone rang. It was my mother. "Tiu An, where are you?" "Nah, then, and I are waiting to go shopping." Her tone was impatient and annoyed. I replied coldly, "Go by yourselves. Veen has a high fever. He's on an IV at the hospital. I can't go." Even if my son hadn't been sick, I wouldn't have kept being their ATM or puppet. A fever's nothing. Kids just need blankets and they'll recover. IV drips aren't good, they weaken the body. Doctors say that too. Listen to me and take him home. Bundle him up, and he'll be fine. Don't make a fuss. Every word pierced me like needles. If I hadn't died as a child, it must have been pure luck. Was it her money I'd spent that she had to worry like this? I hung up and powered off my phone. Only when I saw my son sleeping peacefully did my heart finally ease. My husband, Tham Dick, rushed over as soon as he heard. Seeing my red eyes, he pulled both of us into his arms and patted gently. "From now on, as long as the three of us are well, that's enough." If my in-laws were still alive, and if my husband and I hadn't both gotten the flu at the same time, I never would have left my son with my mother. That was the first time I'd ever asked my maternal family for help, and the first time I woke up from my illusion. After my son came home, I finally turned my phone back on. 5 missed calls from my mother, plus several messages. "Tiu An, what's with your attitude? Are you mad at me? I worked so hard taking care of your kid and now I'm getting blamed. If you're unhappy, I won't watch him anymore." Another message. "Jiang An, you've really hurt me." Then one from Chu. "Sis, mom's been crying non-stop. Kids catching colds is normal. Don't be mad at her. She's still your mother. If she gets sick from sadness, you'll be the one who regrets it most." I'd always been known as a filial daughter, the whole neighborhood knew it. I supported my maternal family, took care of my brother, gave gifts on every occasion. Everyone praised me for being devoted, so they took it for granted that I should provide for them. I didn't reply. I didn't want more irritation. 2 days later, my mother couldn't hold back and called again. "Are you still mad at me? Fine, I admit I was wrong. Okay, I'm old. I didn't take good care of him. It's not like anyone wants a child to get sick." I was surprised she'd lowered herself for once. But she still didn't understand. I wasn't angry because my son got sick. I was angry because of her favoritism. "I'm busy. We'll talk later." I was about to hang up when she hurriedly said, "Wait, I'll send you an address. Come over." She hung up before I could answer. She'd said that line many times before, and every time it meant she was standing in a clothing shop, gold shop, or cosmetics store waiting for me to come pay. I'd thought she was making peace. It turned out she just wanted something again. That evening after work, I was about to pick up my son when I got a call. "Mom, Uncle Jiang picked up and took me along too." I rushed to the address he sent, a photo studio. When I arrived, I saw Jiang Kwang's whole family taking a family portrait. My son stood off in a corner, staring blankly. "If I could be in it too, that'd be nice," he murmured. Then tilted his chin up. "This is a family photo. Only family can be in it. You're not even a Jiang. Grandma said you're an outsider." The 3 adults smiled broadly, no one objecting. They even nodded in agreement. My mother, Hoang Tai Lin, looked proud, as if she were gazing at a perfect family. Seeing me, the photographer asked, "Ma'am, would you like to join the shoot?" She answered for me, "That's my daughter. She's married." The implication was obvious. I didn't belong to this family. I took my son's hand and turned to leave. He pointed at the smartwatch on Than's wrist. "Mom, Grandma took my watch and gave it to him to wear for the photos. She said she'd return it after." "Wait a moment, okay?" At last their family photo session ended. The photographer announced the cost. Total is 12.800 yuan. My mother turned to me with an expectant smile. "Tuan, this studio's an acquaintance. That's why we got such a good price. We didn't dare pick a more expensive place. This family portrait has been my wish for years. Now it's finally come true." I understood perfectly. She was waiting for me to pay. Just like always. Before, no matter what we bought, I'd always been the one to settle the bill without anyone needing to ask. But today, seeing my indifference, she forced a smile and asked, "Do you and Veen want a few photos too?" I looked down at my son and said softly, "No need, Veen, get your watch back and let's go home." He nodded and walked up to Jiang Than. "Can you please give my watch back?" Jiang Than immediately hugged it to his chest and hid behind Hoang Tai Lin. "Grandma, this is mine." He'd been spoiled so much he was used to taking whatever he liked, without any sense of right or wrong. Jiang Kuang and Chu Na pretended not to see anything, standing there as if none of it concerned them. Hoang Tai Lin kept smiling gently as she coaxed, Veen, let Mom buy you a new one. It's just a watch. Tuan, this weekend bring Veen over to your brother's place. I'll cook something nice for you both. It's late. I have to go home and make dinner. Then still has homework. Come on, let's go home and study." She tugged her grandson's hand, preparing to leave the studio. Jiang Kuang and Chu Na followed right behind her. My son burst into tears and ran forward to block Than's path, choking out, "That watch was the last gift Grandma gave me. It's one of a kind. You can't keep it. You have to give it back." To Veen, that watch wasn't just an object, it was a sacred piece of memory of his grandmother, the only person who had ever loved him wholeheartedly. He once told me the watch carried her scent, even her voice. Hoang Tai Lin frowned and shouted, "You're the older brother. You should know how to let your younger brother have it. It's just a watch. Why are you being so petty? Why are you so selfish? What kind of example of an older brother is that?" My son sobbed harder, his face flushed red from being scolded. I didn't say a word. I stepped forward, snatched the watch from Than's hand, and returned it to my child. "Take it, we're going home." Then immediately howled at the top of his lungs. The three adults' faces darkened at once. The photographer watched cautiously and asked, "Who will be paying for today's bill?" I didn't answer. I simply held my son's hand and turned to leave. Hoang Tai Lin grabbed me at once, her tone brazen as if it were the most natural thing in the world. "You haven't paid for the photos yet." I turned back, my eyes icy. No one invited me into the shoot. Why should I pay? Seeing no one defend him, then plopped onto the floor throwing a tantrum. "I want that watch back. I only want that watch." Hoang Tai Lin comforted him while turning to scold me. "It's such a tiny thing. Why are you making such a scene? As his aunt you should be more generous." Chu Na chimed in, her tone dripping with mockery. "Other aunts buy their nephews cars and houses. And you won't even give up a watch." Jiang Kuang clicked his tongue reproachfully. "Sis, just buy Veen another one and it's solved. Why make such a big deal?" I didn't bother arguing. I took my son's hand and kept walking. Hoang Tai Lin refused to give up and grabbed me again. "At least you should pay for the photos." I shook her off firmly. "I'm not in that photo. And since I'm an outsider, why should I pay for your family's pictures?" With that, I walked away without looking back. Behind me, Hoang Tai Lin froze in place, her face utterly livid. The next day, Jiang Kuang video called me. On the screen, my mother lay in a hospital bed looking pained. "Sis, yesterday you made Mom so mad she got sick. She didn't eat or drink all night and now she's hospitalized. Come see her quickly. I replied calmly, my voice raised slightly. What does that have to do with me? I'm just an outsider. Sis, how can you say that? Isn't that ungrateful? What outsider? Jiang Kwang snapped, starting his moral lecture. I cut him off coldly. Didn't Mom say it herself? A daughter who marries off is like spilled water. I'm no longer part of this family. I'm married now, we're two separate households. From now on, don't come to me about your family's affairs. Hoang Tai Lin's face flushed purple with rage. She pointed at the screen and shouted, even if you marry a foreigner, I'm still your mother. I gave birth to you. You have an obligation to support me. You can't deny that. I smirked. When you called me an outsider to charge me babysitting money, why didn't you remember I was your daughter? Now that you need me to pay, suddenly I'm your child again? She opened her mouth but before she could reply, I said flatly, custom says once a daughter is married, she's no longer responsible for her parents' household. She choked on her words, her face turning crimson, just as she tried to speak again. I ended the video. Immediately afterward, I blocked every contact from my maternal family. That evening my aunt called, the one person in that family I respected most. From childhood to adulthood, whether it was new clothes or the hard years of college, she had always quietly helped me. When I later had the means, I often sent her food, clothes, and medicine. Our bond ran deep. She spoke gently. Tiu An, your mother's mouth is sharp but her heart isn't bad. She knows she misspoke. She asked me to tell you she regrets it. Your mother and daughter, what can't be forgiven? I told her already, and she promised she won't act like that again. I was silent for a moment, then replied calmly, please tell her that from now on, as long as money isn't involved, I'll still behave properly as a daughter. But money, sorry, this family bond isn't deep enough for me to keep paying for it. My aunt sighed. I understand. I knew no matter how kind she was, she couldn't carry an entire calculating maternal family on her shoulders for me. Without money, kinship was nothing more than a soap bubble. The next day my aunt asked me to visit my mother in the hospital with her. Out of respect for my aunt, I didn't refuse. On the way we bought fruit and pastries. Hoang Tai Lin lay on the hospital bed. When she saw me enter, she coughed a few times theatrically, pretending to be weak. She was very used to this trick, faking illness to stir sympathy. In the past, whenever I showed firmness, she'd suddenly fall sick. I understood, but never exposed her. Today, in front of my aunt, she suddenly changed her attitude. Her voice gentle. Tiu An, I didn't expect you'd be angry just because I asked for 3 yuan for watching Veen Veen. You know my personality, I'm straightforward. I didn't mean anything by it. Don't take it to heart. Okay? You're my flesh and blood. How could you be an outsider? I just misspoke. Forgive me, all right? She even pretended to slap her own mouth lightly, sneaking glances at me for a reaction. Before, I would have rushed to stop her. Now I only watched silently. I knew perfectly well that today's softness was just to hold on to my wallet. I smiled faintly. It's in the past. Why bring it up? Her eyes lit up, thinking I'd forgiven her, and she beamed. You've always been the most sensible. Having a good daughter like you is the greatest blessing of my life. Once, those words might have moved me. Now they only sounded hollow. In front of my aunt she put on a meek face and called out loudly. Tiu Kwang, go handle my discharge paperwork. Jiang Kwang answered obediently and hurried off. I was used to this routine. If the hospital bill was under 500 yuan, she'd let her son pay and then brag about it to the neighbors. If it was over 500, she'd come find me quietly. Tiu Kwang spends so much on me, she said pointedly, every time he takes me to the hospital for checkups. My aunt smiled lightly. Sons and daughters are both good. Hoang Tai Lin glanced at me meaningfully. Yes, sons take care of you. Daughters just need to buy supplements. It was an obvious hint for me to open my wallet. My aunt lightly nudged her as a warning not to go too far. I kept smiling. This time the hospital bill wasn't even 300. Right, Mom? It's not like it was anything serious. Things are tight for us lately. Veen is starting first grade soon. We're planning to send him to an international school and buy a house near it. Finances are really strained. Starting next month, I'll stop sending living expenses. Anyway, you said Jiang Kwang would be your support in old age. I've supported you for years. It's time for me to rest. My mother's face darkened instantly. But in front of my aunt she forced herself to hold it in. You kids are too extravagant. What's the point of an international school? It's a waste of money. My health is weak. I live off the allowance you send each month. If you cut it off, how will I live? Don't listen to outsiders misleading you. Struggling when you're young, you'll regret it later. She spoke while glancing pleadingly at my aunt. My aunt remained calm. If they have the means. Investing in education is good. Didn't you and succeed through studying? My mother forced a crooked smile. Well, yes, thanks to her education she has a good future now. I didn't miss the chance. Mom, if Aunt hadn't helped me back then, I probably wouldn't even have made it to graduation. Right now I'm short on cash. How much can you lend me? Her eyes bulged. She stammered, speechless. I laughed inwardly. I was only testing her reaction. Then I'll ask Jiang Kwang. Her expression changed instantly. He's still waiting for you to help him with money. Right then Jiang Kwang came back in. Hearing that, added, Sis, we can barely cover our own expenses. How could we lend you anything? I gave a cold smile. That's fine. If you don't have it, forget it. But in truth I knew. Just last month I'd accidentally overheard my mother bragging she'd helped my brother deposit 300,000 yuan in savings. That money was every cent I'd sent her over the years. Less than 2 days later, an old classmate called me. Tuan, I just found out your mom and brother's family came to my studio for photos. Since we're old classmates, I gave a friendly price. Just pay 10 yuan even. I replied calmly, thanks. But I'm not paying. I didn't take the photos and I never agreed to pay for them. Right afterward, a message from Hoang Tai Lin arrived. Tuan, if you don't pay for your friend, how will you save face? It's such a small amount. Is it worth making things hard for me and your brother? Pay it quickly. Don't let your sister-in-law get mad at him over pocket change. I couldn't hold back anymore. I texted back. I won't pay. I'm not in that family photo. Yet when it's time to pay, suddenly you remember me. Want me to be blunt? I'm not an ATM. If you keep bothering me, I'll block everything. Don't think Aunt can persuade me again. Immediately, a string of 60-second voice messages came in one after another. I didn't open a single one. I knew that tactic well, crying, blaming, emotional manipulation, but I wasn't who I used to be. On the 10th, I didn't send the allowance. On the 11th, she came to my house. But no one answered because I'd already sold it and moved to the west side of the city. Neighbors later told me she called my aunt to mediate. But this time even my aunt didn't side with her. Refusing to give up, she went straight to my company. Right there in the work area. In front of all my colleagues. She shouted. Tuan, why did you sell your house without telling me? And the living expenses too. Are you really planning to cut me off? Am I nothing to you? She deliberately tried to humiliate me in public, hoping I'd pay just to save face. But I wasn't afraid of losing face anymore. From an ordinary employee to a director. If I couldn't even face something this small, how would I deserve that chair? Was she planning to shame me everywhere as an unfilial daughter? Or did she think I was afraid of losing my job and would obediently keep acting like her personal cash machine? Mom, after everything, did she really think I was still the fool she could lead by the nose? She blamed me for selling my house without telling her. So I asked in return, why should I have told her? That house was bought with my husband's and my money. She didn't contribute a single cent. What right did she have to interfere? As for supporting her in old age, I'd been earning money since I was 20. For nearly 10 years I'd sent her 3 yuan every month. During those 10 years, from her early 40s to past 50, long before she was at an age that required support, I still took care of her like that. I even had a detailed record, Every piece of clothing she wore. Every piece of jewelry she owned, what wasn't bought by me? She herself had said she raised her son to support her in old age. Yet for 10 years I supported her while she used that money to support my brother, subsidizing his household and doing chores for him. Had he ever given her a single coin? Had he ever taken care of her for even one day? She didn't demand anything from him. But she turned around and criticized me because I was easier to control. Wasn't that it? If she had ever treated me kindly, even just a little, I wouldn't have complained no matter how much she favored him. But what was the reality? When I asked her to watch her own grandson for exactly 7 days, she opened her mouth and demanded 3 yuan. She was the one who said a married daughter is like spilled water. Once she said it, she shouldn't slap her own face contradicting herself. I poured out all the resentment I'd suppressed for years. Hoang Tai Lin stood there stunned, unable to believe I dared expose everything right there at my company in front of so many people. She stammered, tongue-tied. You're holding a grudge this long over such a small thing? Yes. I looked straight into her eyes. Cold and steady. And for the rest of my life I won't forget it. I also won't give you another cent. I stated my decision without hesitation. Around us, co-workers began whispering. Most sided with me, criticizing her for favoring her son and treating me like an ATM. Humiliated, Hoang Tai Lin stormed off. But her greed didn't stop. That evening she went to my husband. Before everything came to light, Tham Dick had always treated his mother-in-law well. Now his attitude was no different from mine. When Hoang Tai Lin cried and complained that I'd misunderstood her and wronged her, Tham Dick only replied gently, "Mom, Tuan isn't heartless, but feelings have to come from both sides. You've never given her anything, so you can't keep expecting to receive from her forever." She left with a dark face, knowing things had gone beyond her control. After that, she fell completely silent. I knew she was waiting for me to cool down. Near Lunar New Year, Chu Na texted me, "Sis, come home for New Year this year. It's only warm and lively when everyone's together. Mom, your brother, and I all want you back." I understood her intention. She wanted to use the holiday reunion to mend things. Before, I would have kept up appearances and done something symbolic. Now there was no need. I replied, "Chu Na, thanks for the invitation, but my family already booked tickets to the Maldives for New Year. We won't be in the country this year." She went silent. Half an hour later, a voice message popped up. It was Jiang Than. "Auntie, I want to go to the Maldives too. Buy me a ticket as well." His commanding tone made me extremely uncomfortable. I'd once reminded my mother and Chu Na that he was rude and disrespectful. But they said I was petty and too strict with a child. After that I stopped mentioning it and chose to ignore it. But this time I couldn't tolerate it. I replied bluntly, "No, I don't want to take you." Immediately, a barrage of voice messages came, Shirley crying, screaming, maybe even insults. I didn't listen. I simply blocked Chu Na. Not long after, a relative sent me a video. In it, Chu Na was loudly arguing with Jiang Kwang and my mother. What's the point of living like this? The son's useless. The mother-in-law blindly favors him. So what if your sister is capable? Does she care about my son? She won't even buy him a plane ticket. What has our family ever gotten? The moment she has money she buys some cheap used car instead of caring about schooling or housing. I'm exhausted. I want a divorce. The relative said Jiang Kwang had spent all his savings on a car even though he earned less than 4 yuan a month and couldn't support his family. Before, with my financial support, they'd barely managed. Now that I'd cut them off, their household fell into chaos. Chu Na pointed at my mother and cursed her, while she sat on the floor clutching her head and wailing. I didn't bother watching the whole video. I simply pulled my suitcase and left for the Maldives with my husband and son, enjoying our first New Year holiday completely free of my maternal family. After the vacation, on the last day before school started, my mother showed up at my door with Jiang Than. The moment she saw me she burst into tears. "Tuan, I know I was wrong. Please don't be mad anymore. My daughter-in-law really left. She abandoned Than without a thought. Your brother sold the house and went to another province to do business. Now he doesn't even have a home near a school for the child. Only you can help. He's your own nephew. If you ignore him, his life is ruined. I almost laughed. So his parents were alive and well. Yet I was supposed to raise him instead? Was I a saint or an idiot? My mother looked pitiful, but her tone was still perfectly composed. I've thought it over. From now on then and I will move in with you. I'll cook and take both kids to school. They can attend the same international school. Grow up together with friends. Wouldn't that be wonderful? I sneered. Do you know how much international school tuition costs per year? 500,000 yuan. What makes you think I'd spend that on your grandson? Just because he calls me aunt? She pushed the boy toward me again and said softly, a nephew is like a son. If something ever happens to you, then we'll definitely protect you. He'll be your support. I curled my lip in disdain. If I needed protection, I have my own son. I don't need to rely on someone unrelated. Like you said. She snapped, irritated. How is he unrelated? He's your blood nephew, and I'm your mother. Then she added quickly, I only said those things before because I was angry. And now you're using them against me? Why are you so hard? I couldn't hold back anymore. My voice sharp. When you demanded babysitting money, you said I was an outsider. Now that you need help, you talk about family. All these years, did you ever really treat me as your daughter? She retorted impatiently. It was something as tiny as a fingernail and you're still mad? Fine, I'll return the 3.000. Okay? Coldly, I pulled out my phone and opened a video of Jiang Kwang and Chu Na happily traveling together, clearly not divorced at all like she claimed. My mother froze, eyes darting. I smiled, full of disappointment. You think I'm stupid? You all think you can just make up stories and keep squeezing money out of me forever? Favoring sons over daughters has limits. You have none. As long as I have something, you'll drain me dry. So let me make this clear. From now on I won't spend another cent. When Dad was seriously ill for 3 years and the hospital bills exceeded 500 yuan. I paid for the funeral too. I never complained. But from now on I have nothing left to give. Scream or make a scene if you want, it won't matter. Once something turns cold, it won't warm again. Family ties aren't something you can pull back once they snap. That was the last time I spoke to my mother. After that day, I never saw her again. No matter how she tried to get relatives to persuade me, I avoided her completely. A year later, my husband and I moved to Hong Kong for work. Veen came with us to study. Before leaving, we didn't leave any contact information. No relatives knew where we settled. I no longer cared about anything back home. 10 years later, my aunt contacted me. Your mother's life is really hard now. Chu Na really left this time. Your brother's in debt from gambling. He sold the house and disappeared to avoid creditors. Then dropped out of school and wanders around fighting like a street thug. Your mother survives on rice and flour relatives pull together. She's gone half mad with regret. My aunt sent me a link to my mother's short video account. I opened it. She looked gaunt, hair gray, face lined with wrinkles, crying as she told her story like she was performing a play. Every video repeated the same message. As a mother, don't favor sons over daughters. Don't treat your daughter like an ATM. I've regretted it my whole life. Just because I demanded 3 yuan babysitting money once, I lost my own daughter forever. Time wears people down. But Mom, there's no such thing as regret medicine in this world. That's the end of today's story. If you enjoyed it, please like the video, subscribe to China Story Tales, and stay tuned for more stories.